because I hope I don't have any typos here. Because the spiritual is the foundation. That's the rock. That's where we work. That's where I work. I help you shore up the foundation. All right. Types of memory. Very important to understand. There are 5 different types of memory. And I hope you're learning something here, because this is extremely important to understand about yourself. Is that we have most of what we are aware of is on a conscious level. And then much of what happens in our life is unconscious, like Aaron was mentioning. I couldn't tell you why I couldn't get out of bed. I just couldn't. I don't know why. All right. So the different types of memory, real quickly. Narrative memory. That's kind of like the narrative of your life unfolding. So after your mind develops as a little kid, say from 8 to 13, somewhere in there, now your brain is more fully developed, and tapping into narrative memory might be remembering, what your husband said to you last week that really ticked you off, or like, I can't find my keys. So what you do is you just kind of page back through a few hours of your narrative memory, and then you go, oh yeah, now I remember where I put it. Emotional memory is the emotional. So to use a hard drive as an analogy, when you take in data in your 5 senses, along with that data, so picture that writing a CD, okay? And along with all of the data, the 5 senses, sight, hearing, smell, sound, taste, you're going to, what's being burned into that groove is also an emotion. With every sensory data input, there's an emotion attached to it, which is kind of a form of evaluation. That's what we tap into. But it's important to understand that there's an emotional memory that goes. So an example of that would be you burn yourself on your iron, and then you immediately remember the first time you burned yourself on the stove. You remember the emotion of it. You remember the physical pain, but you know how you felt too in that precise moment. That really is not cool. And you can get angry, or you can be sad, or upset. You're burned. It's very upsetting, and it's emotionally, it's tapping into that emotional memory. And those tend to be in the conscious level. Implicit memory it starts in the womb about age 7 months or so. And so what happens is your brain starts to take in sensory data, just doesn't really know, it's just raw data, doesn't really know what to do with it, but it's in there, okay? And a lot of times in the healing setting, we actually get to a place of implicit memory with some people who had trauma in the womb, they had trauma in the bassinet, or something happened during delivery, and or say that their parents fought a lot when they were, in the late term of the pregnancy. Many times we will actually get to the implicit memory in the healing process. It's fascinating, but if you don't get there, then you don't get resolution. And then you go, I don't know how I know this. I just have a sense that this is what's going on, and that's okay, because that's implicit memory. You just really can't kind of grab onto it, but you know it's there. So you have a sense that something is happening. Body memory, very important concept. And I know Leah knows about body memory because Leah does physical therapy, and I'm sure this has happened to Dr. Aaron too, where you're touching someone in physical therapy, and all of a sudden they react. And they have no idea. They start screaming. They have absolutely, literally no idea why. What this is your body cells literally have memory. And what happens in the body when it remembers is precisely what it went through during that time. Whatever you're going through that's causing you to scream or holler or to get upset or angry, if something triggers in you, your physical body literally remembers. And then the last one is traumatic memory. So these two kind of go together. Your body memory doesn't really kick in more or less until it's traumatic or very extremely memorable or flooding to the brain. So these tend to surface in the healing setting, and this is probably the reason that a lot of people are just kind of weirded out by healing, and they're not quite sure. I think this is a bunch of hokey baloney, and or I'm afraid of it. I think there's something really there, so I'm not going there. And I can assure you that if you go there, you can get 100% if you're willing to go there. It takes time, effort, discipline, and a commitment that you can heal. Okay, clear? All right. Types of beliefs. These are different types of beliefs. Now we have kinds of memory. Now we have types of beliefs. It's very important to know. Cognitive beliefs, just things that I believe in my head. I know God saved me. Okay? Experiential beliefs. Experiential belief is something that we always defer to and default to when we're emotionally upset or emotionally triggered by something. So what happens when we get emotionally upset sometimes is we're able to hold on to a cognitive belief and an experiential belief simultaneously. Or, believe it or not, as I have up here, beliefs have systems. You may have a system or several systems of belief that kick in a moment of memory or a triggering event of some sort, and you can be holding on to two opposing thoughts at the same time. Talk about stressful, or fearful, or confusing, or getting stuck and not being able to know what to do next. Ever been there? So that's experiential beliefs kind of pounding up against cognitive beliefs. And it happens to us Christians too. We know we're saved. Do we always live like we're saved? We know we have the Holy Spirit's power and the resurrection power of Jesus Christ. Do you know how powerful that is? That raises people from the dead. And you know that people still today are being raised from the dead all over the place. We don't hear about it much, but that's the kind of power we have in us, is the resurrection power of Jesus Christ. Okay? We need to live that way. But we're not going to get there unless we experience it for ourselves. It's only going to be up in our head. You've heard the difference between a head Christian and a heart Christian. Okay? We want to get you. We want to get you. But many of us have bad experiences. So we want to kind of operate in the truth dynamic and kind of clean that out. Replace those bad experiences that are based in the things that we believe about them experientially, right? The experiential belief. We want to replace that with God's truth. Okay? So our belief systems, we have beliefs that are based in truth. We have beliefs that are based in falsehood. I've already covered those concepts. We have defense mechanisms. A lot of times we'll get into an argument with somebody, and boom, boom, that wall goes up. And we have belief systems that are actually built up to defend, starting at a very early age. Then another very strong, and it goes with core belief, very strong belief system is the systematic worldview and way that we understand ourselves, who we are. That's a self-belief. Deep down in your core belief system, you believe something about you that drives every form of behavior that you have. So this is where we want to go in the human center. We want to get to the core beliefs, whatever they are. It's important to get there. And then ask God. He has to say about those beliefs, and that's how we do it. Okay. So how we experience life. Very important. Now we'll start to build on, real quick, build on the building blocks that I just went through. All right. So tell me if you haven't experienced life like this before. So how we experience life is something happens. Someone says something. I'll use myself as an example. When my wife says something